Hey guys, this is Winter's MMA here with the first ever predictions video on this channel. Today I'll be talking about Brandon Moreno versus Kavanagh at the CDMX Arena in Mexico, which is set to take place on February 28th. So, the cool thing about this matchup is it wasn't originally slated for February 28th. Originally it was supposed to be Asu Almabayev, but he ended up pulling out due to an injury, I believe. So this should be very interesting stylistically, as we haven't really seen much of Kavanagh's grappling in the UFC. He's a very strong boxer, but he has previously been knocked out by Charles Johnson, so he's coming off a loss. His first and only career defeat. Actually, the same with Brandon Moreno. It was his first time with a KO or TKO loss by Tatsuro Taira. At UFC 322, I believe it was. UFC 322. And yeah, his first and ever TKO loss. The stoppage was a bit controversial, but it's better to stop a fight earlier than later. As we can see by the Jalen Turner and Bobby Green fight, that was just awful. Awful stoppage. But yeah, this should be a great stylistical matchup, as Brandon Moreno is obviously the better grappler here. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. We've seen his very strong grappling in jiu-jitsu many times before. He even used it to win his world title after submitting Davison Figueiredo after their first fight, which actually ended in a draw. One of the best flyweight fights and one of the best flyweight title fights ever, in my opinion. One of the best flyweight fights overall. So yeah, I think Brandon Moreno will win by decision, as he's used to having that 5-round cardio. He went 5 rounds with Davison Figueiredo. He went 5 rounds with Pantoja. He's gone to a decision before. Kavanagh, he has a few decision wins. I'm pretty sure he has a good few decision wins, but I'd say he's relying more on his pressure and his boxing power. So he's going to try get that working. Brandon Moreno's going to take him down, work the clinch game, and I think they're just pushing him too hard, even though this is a short notice title fight. For me, it looks like Darren Till all over again, although in this case it is very different because it's a short notice fight and he's the only one that's really available to fight. Alex Perez just fought, and I think he's already fought Brandon Moreno. Charles Johnson got knocked out quite badly, I must add. Brandon Moreno got knocked out. Obviously Van is the champion, and Moreno's coming off a loss. So there was no one else really. And Asu, his original opponent, was pulled out due to an injury. Same as his teammate Shavkat actually, but I'll talk about that in another video. Yeah, I'd give the slight edge to Moreno. He's going to try work the clinch game, go for takedowns, shut down his pressure as soon as he can. And kind of like with Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg and Kavanagh are quite similar in my opinion. They're very slick boxers and strikers, but once they get put under a bit of pressure, clinched, wrestled a bit, they kind of get shut down. They lose a bit of confidence, and that's where they lose the fight. Steve Erceg actually, he had a very close fight with Pantoja, and many believe he could have won if he'd kind of negated Pantoja's grappling, engaged less in scrambles, and tried to keep it on the feet a bit more. But in my opinion, I think Pantoja did win that fight, and all props to him. I hope he'll be back to fight Van soon. Also, this fight could be a setup for a #1 contender fight to fight Joshua Van. Obviously, after this win, Loner Kavanagh, he'd need I'd say he'd need at least 3 wins to challenge Van. And who knows, Manel Kape might even beat him if they do fight. So he'll have to face him if he does get a title shot, or anyone else. But yeah, after this fight, whoever wins or loses, I think, yeah, if Loner Kavanagh loses, he should fight either Alex Perez or Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson coming off a TKO loss, like I'd mentioned before. Alex Perez, he's kind of the gatekeeper of the division. Previous title challenger. Yeah, Charles Johnson, he has already fought him, so that was a mistake by me. Sorry. He's already fought Charles Johnson, but they might have a rematch somewhere down the line. Kind of like Frankie Edgar and Gray Maynard. Gray Maynard beat him in the first one, but they ran it back twice again. Well, the second one was a draw, but in the third one, Frankie TKO'd him in round 3 or 4. But yeah, if Brandon Moreno wins this, he should fight either Manel Kape, who is on his way for a title shot, and I'd love to see the fight again with Asu Almabayev, because, it's a fun fight. It was scheduled, never ended up happening, so if they could run that back, that would be great. But if Loner Kavanagh does win, I could see him fighting Asu Almabayev in the near future. Yeah, this is quite a tricky fight to predict when you really think about it, because Loner Kavanagh, he's this explosive young prospect, good boxer, great hands, like lightning speed, and Brandon Moreno is this seasoned grappler, seasoned veteran, former title challenger, former 2-time champion. He's been fighting the best of the best consistently, and this will be a tough test for Kavanagh. We'll see if he's really up there with the best, or if he's just the next Darren Till. Can one loss derail things for him? So we'll see. Tune in for more. This has been Winters MMA. This is my video. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what else I should do for next time, and see ya.